This week, Siskel and Ebert review Woody Allen and Bette Midler shopping and fighting in Scenes from a Mall. Lovers Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins can't agree about anything in He Said, She Said. And lounge singer John Goodman inherits the throne of England in King Ralph. It's all coming up next on Siskel and Ebert.
Your whole life is like a sham. If you knew how many years I've been dying to tell you what I really think of you.
Woody Allen and Bette Midler go through a shopping mall and a crisis in their marriage, both at the same time in Scenes from a Mall. It's one of the 5 new movies we're going to be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is the eagerly awaited Scenes from a Mall, and talk about disappointment. This is a stunningly unfunny film. It's hard to believe that this is the script that lured Woody Allen to appear in someone else's movie for the first time since The Front 15 years ago. He must have gotten a really big paycheck. In the film, Allen and Midler play a couple of Californians celebrating their 16th wedding anniversary. Early in the day, they visit a shopping mall, and only the sight of New Yorker Woody Allen in Southern California is amusing.
90 blue. Keep that in mind. 9, that's where we left the car out there, for 90 blue. I don't want to be like the Springsteen concert. We had to take a cab to find the car there.
Inside the mall, there's immediate trouble as Allen confesses that he's been having an affair.
Is this your first affair, or have there been others? You might as well tell me now that we're talking.
Let's go someplace else.
This is fine. No one is listening to us, believe me.
I had 2 others, but they were one-nighters, and this was years ago, and that's it.
Who were they?
You really want to know this? What possible difference could it make? One was a headhunter that I met at the O'Hare Airport.
A headhunter?
Yes, he gets talent for, corporations and stuff. And there was a legal secretary from Atlanta.
That's it?
That's it. 2, yes, and they were one-nighters both. 3, actually, if you count the hooker in Dallas. But that was business. That was totally business. They sent it to my room. I couldn't refuse. It was a gift.
The script is neither insightful about marriage nor funny about it as Midler continues to react to the news about the affair.
You are the most callous, selfish, short-sighted son of a bitch who has ever lived. I hope you fry in hell.
You look like my Aunt Minna in that dress.
Here's a scene where the tension between them could have been played for real drama, Allen complaining that Midler dresses in a dowdy fashion, but once again we get broad overacting by Midler and a lame sight gag involving a mime.
Sorry. What happened here? I never hit a mime before.
A mime joke. That is really old stuff. And that scene was actually working for a while there when Midler was quite angry at him and he at her, but then it's played away with the punch on the mime. They just take away any real energy that's going on. Woody Allen walks around the mall also with a surfboard a lot of the time that Midler bought him, representing, I guess, his midlife crisis. That's supposed to be funny. I just didn't laugh once when they were inside the mall, and that's incredible for a film with these 2 stars and a script directed and co-authored by Paul Mazursky. Big names simply don't guarantee big entertainment.
I was just as disappointed as you were, and I think the problem is at the screenplay level. I don't
Absolutely.
think the screenplay could have ever been funny.
No.
It's a very tortured conceit that these 2 people would spend all day inside the mall, and it's really awkward and embarrassing the way the camera has to keep looking for a new position. They're going to go down the escalator or up the escalator, see him through a window, see him in a mirror, in order to make this space interesting, which only distracts from the fact that there's nothing at all going on. It's just a completely dead-on-the-page screenplay, and there's nothing anybody can do to bring any life to it.
I'm told the gossip in the industry is Woody Allen got $3 million for the picture. He felt he needed the money. Boy.
Well, what I'd like to know how much the mime got, because that's a real fingernails on the blackboard thing. That mime, and the scene that we just saw is when Woody Allen punches the mime out. That's a moment everybody in the audience has been waiting for an hour, because you really want to let that guy have it. And then Mazursky cuts to an overhead long shot so that it doesn't have any comic punch. I mean, that could have been the one laugh in the movie when he lets the mime have it if they'd only edited it right.
Doesn't work.
Okay, now here's, however, where I'd like to make a critical distinction, because Scenes from a Mall was merely a bad movie, a disappointment, whereas our next movie is truly horrendously awful, one of the most cheerless and unpleasant times I've ever had at the movies, and I've been going for a long time. The name of the movie is Nothing But Trouble. It was directed by Dan Aykroyd. It stars him in 2 roles, John Candy in 2 more roles, plus Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, and a group of assorted cretins in other roles. And the fact that this movie was advertised as a comedy says something about the breakdown of the English language. The movie starts with Chevy Chase as an investment counselor who's asked Demi Moore, a new neighbor in his building, to drive out to the country. And the next morning, though, he's too hungover to drive.
Tell her I'm too tired, I'm sick, I can't drive her. And give her the car with my compliments, will you? Sorry. I gotta get some sleep. Give me the keys, Mike.
Their trip ends in a nightmare when they're caught in a speed trap and fall into the sadistic hands of the depraved Valkenheiser family, presided over by a 106-year-old justice of the peace played by Aykroyd. Chevy Chase is offered a chance to live if he will marry the judge's granddaughter, played here in drag by John Candy.
You make this the bride? No, not in front of all these people, Your Honor. Now!
Okay, now those are some of the more palatable scenes in the movie. I won't go into the mutant toad people or the bone-crushing machine or the sheer visions of hell that are summed up by other moments in the movie. I guess maybe what Aykroyd thought he was making here was a cross between Beetlejuice and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but there aren't a whole lot of laughs in this movie, and finally it just grows sullen and desperate. I have nothing but sympathy for all of the actors and even more sympathy for the audience.
Yeah, I don't, you know, these people are getting paid.
Yeah.
I mean, but we have to pay to see it, and again, losing the time. It is a depressing experience. I think that's what's shocking. Here it is labeled a comedy. We got big comedy stars in there, and you sit there, no laughs, and then the mood of the film, the look of it is dark, dank, and just unpleasant.
It's just really ugly. You know,
Yeah.
I had a strange experience. I saw this movie on Tuesday night in a theater that was almost empty, but way in the back there were 3 teenagers who were making a lot of noise. A lot of noise. I don't mean talking loudly among themselves. I mean shouting and screaming. And at one point, I turned around and asked them if they could talk a little louder.
Okay. Coming up later in the show, John Goodman stars as King Ralph, the unlikely King of England. But next, the romantic comedy He Said, She Said, about a couple of quarreling journalists with their own TV show. It's Not Us.
I spend almost every night at your place.
What, you don't want to be with me?
Yes, I do, all right. But it's not my apartment, so I feel like a stranger.
My dad knows all about space vehicles. He directed me to the new Oldsmobile Silhouette. Its looks are stellar, and the interior is perfect for the enterprising family. The modular seats pull out easily. There's a place for everything. Compared to other forms of space travel, Silhouette is the logical choice. Right, Dad?
Eminently logical.
Watson couldn't afford law school.
Don't you think you're overreacting?
No.
So he got himself a scholarship.
Congratulations, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, sir.
Now he's a Harvard man,
Right on.
a ladies' man,
You know, there's something really strange about you, and I don't know what it is.
a changed man,
I'd like you to meet my good friend, Kareem Abdul-Ali.
a soul man.
Do you really hate the Beach Boys now?
Soul man.
Tonight at 8 on Channel 11.
Anything else that you'd like to know?
We're just trying to get to know him, honey.
God, it's not like we're getting married or anything. Is it?
No. No. No.
Meeting his girlfriend's family is an awkward situation there for Kevin Bacon in our next film, He Said, She Said. And it's a cute idea for a movie, a romantic comedy about a couple of big city newspaper writers who are given their own TV show of contrary opinions. Sound familiar? Well, this couple lives together, and therein lies a big difference. Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins play the couple, and in the film's best scene, she gets up the courage to admit she really likes him and asks him to commit to her, too. He's scared.
Don't you ever get lonely? I mean, I know you have a lot of women and everything, but don't you just get lonely anyway. You know, and scared. Like your whole life is going by. You know, your days and your nights, and nobody's around to see it except you.
Their relationship becomes strained when they get an audition for the TV show. Both are new to working on the tube, and Elizabeth Perkins has trouble adjusting to the medium.
Hi, I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Lori Breyer.
And this is He Said?
She said.
Stop tape, please.
Lori. Lori, honey, it's going great. But this isn't a game show. Maybe if you didn't smile quite so big.
There's even more trouble on the home front after Kevin Bacon resists the idea of marriage. She has hit him on camera with a coffee cup.
Wait a minute. Come on, now things are going great for us here now. We can't break up over a silly little fight in the green room. There's too much at stake.
A lot of the movie is talk about commitment, with Kevin Bacon identifying himself with the Wolfman movie character in his love of solitude.
Wolfman is a tremendous source of strength for guys like me. He's strong, aloof, destined to live alone. He's his own man. He's his own wolf. He's his own wolf man.
You know, I don't know if that scene makes any sense. I think men are not generically opposed to commitment. They ask women to get married all the time. So I think statistically it isn't true. It is true, of course, in his case. This is a close call in this review, however. I like that He Said, She Said deals with adult relationships in a slightly realistic way. I just think it's too much talk and not enough action. The story of this couple is told from 2 points of view in sort of 2 separate films. One with him telling the story, one with her. So we go over the same ground twice, and that format becomes tiresome. The actors do their best, but eventually I got tired of all of their complaining.
You know, I think the key words for me are slightly realistic. It wasn't realistic enough. I had a lot of affection for this movie.
Yes.
I liked the characters. Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins were able to sell these characters to me. But when they're on television in this allegedly hit TV show, and they're debating parallel highway systems and methods of garbage disposal, and one is the conservative and one is the liberal on how garbage should be disposed of, I couldn't believe it. I don't see why in a movie like this they couldn't have had something that was plausible as a television show.
Yeah.
So that was a distraction apart from anything else.
I know what you're saying, because we have a pattern already set up with broadcast news of how to write a picture that is as current with the medium it's describing as anything. Now, not everybody can write at the level of Jim Brooks, but you can at least try. This makes no attempt, and it's just a cutie pie stuff.
The amazing thing is the movie was made by people who are familiar with the media, allegedly, so they apparently thought the audience was too stupid to be given a real newspaper and television picture. Okay, when we come back, John Goodman is a Las Vegas lounge act who becomes King of England in King Ralph.
Do you ever do any fencing? Just a little when I was a kid. A couple watches here and there.
The world has been waiting, and here it comes, the 3rd Annual International Star Search Special. Never has such fantastic talent competed at one time. Experience the best new singers from Holland, Israel, Italy, breathtaking spokesmodels from Argentina, Russia, Sweden, dynamic new bands from Denmark, Germany, Japan, plus international juniors, comedians, male spokesmodels, and dancers. See it at a special time, the International Star Search Special. The world is watching.
Wednesday night at 8 on Channel 11.
He's an all-American kid with an all-American dream.
I want to be a pilot.
But it's about to become a nightmare when a secret so dark.
Have to tell him.
No.
So terrifying.
Dead.
So unbelievable.
What do my parents have to do with all this?
It's finally revealed.
My parents are Russian spies.
Now, a young man must play a deadly game of intrigue, deceit, and murder. Sidney Poitier, River Phoenix, Little Nikita.
Thursday night at 8 on Channel 11.
Every day, in schools like this, all over the city, some very special people are making a difference. They're giving children that bit of extra attention, that little push that can help them succeed. If you have some free time during the school day, you can help too. Become a school volunteer. Contact the New York City School Volunteer Program. Call 212-213-3370.
I mean, I hope you're not counting on me to solve any large national problems, because I don't have a lot of experience with that kind of thing.
English law prohibits monarchs from solving problems. Unfortunately, it doesn't prohibit you from creating them.
The reason John Goodman can't believe his ears there is that Peter O'Toole is offering to teach him how to be the King of England. Goodman plays a fourth-rate Las Vegas lounge act that turns out to be the only living heir to the royal throne after the entire royal family is electrocuted while having its picture taken. So he's packed off to England and learns how to be a monarch. The only person Goodman meets who he really likes in London is a poor dress designer played by Camille Kaduri. But it's not easy to make small talk to a girl when you're the king.
You're not the kind of girl I'm used to. You can spell, you wear clothes to work. You just have more class, I guess.
Jolie Richardson has a strange cameo role as a princess from Finland who would be a suitable match for a king, but this would not exactly be a love affair.
Well, I must admit you'll require a bit more work than I'd hoped. You are unsophisticated, ignorant, and totally lacking in social grace.
It's only when Ralph can be himself that he can enjoy being king.
Good golly, Miss Molly, you so like a ball. Yeah, good golly, Miss Molly, you so like a ball. When you're rocking and rolling, you can't hear my call.
King Ralph is basically a good idea that doesn't quite deliver. I think it wanted to be one of those oddball comedies like Peter Sellers used to make, movies like The Mouse That Roared, but the movie gets a little too bogged down in conventional plot developments. It isn't quite eccentric enough for my taste, and I'd like more colorful characters both upstairs and downstairs in Buckingham Palace and fewer predictable romantic interludes. I also didn't like an offensive sequence involving a spear-throwing contest with an African king. But all the same, there was a lot that was funny and charming in King Ralph, and it's a near miss.
I'm told, it was in the theater I was, little kids like this picture, and I think the comedy is pitched at the lower end of the grammar school class. I thought it would have been much more interesting if you make this guy a real Las Vegas lounge lizard, a failure. See, he wouldn't be a failure if he could play that way, so the movie's totally inconsistent. If he can play that well, he'd be a hit in Las Vegas.
Yeah, especially
so
looking the way
it doesn't work, and the opening of the film is he's fired from his job, so that doesn't work. But aside from that, if you play him as sort of a sleazy guy, clever guy who's trying to score off of the King of England, you realize how funny that could be written? Well, I mean, the guy going around stealing stuff, running a sports book out of Buckingham Palace. There's so many comic ideas. Why don't they push it?
Those are good ideas.
I know
you
they
know,
are.
Of course, you should have written the script.
Yes.
You know, so frequently, leading men don't realize that it's always more fun to play a sleazeball than a hero. I think that in this case, either the people who wrote the movie or John Goodman or somebody wanted to make him lovable, make him cuddly.
That's death.
This whole movie works only if you have a good villain. Now, I thought maybe the villain should have been more attention on John Hurt, who isn't really given any time except to set up the bad things he's trying to do. But I've got to hand it to you, it's a better idea to make the king into the villain.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
You're
okay.
welcome.
Coming up next from Ireland, The Field. Now, this is the film that earned Richard Harris a surprise Oscar nomination this year for Best Actor.
Just who would insult me by bidding for my field here in Carrick-Thomond.
Benny loves it lazy with some cheese on top, and he makes it crazy with a pasta plot. You and Campbell's tomato soup. Think of the possibilities.
Presenting Art Made Easy. New Pillsbury Swirl Frosting. The fudge swirl packet makes it easy. So easy to turn a cake into art.
Better yet, it's art you can eat. Nothing says lovin' like my new swirl frosting.
Next film is The Field, a drama about a small-town Irish ogre who wants to take over some land that his family has taken care of but not owned for generations. It's a tiny, tiny patch of land, but it means everything to this town tyrant, well played by Richard Harris, who received a surprise Oscar nomination for his work. Here he is, the bull, as he is known, stopping by the field with his dim-witted son and his loyal gopher, played by John Hurt.
Fathers, dug that soil with our bare hands. Built those walls. Our souls is buried down there.
The bull gets excited to learn that he can actually own the field because the young widow who owns it is thinking of putting it up for auction.
The widow will get £50 from me for the field, the silly woman. The priest will get his Easter dues, and we'll all be happy in Carrick-Thomond. Give everyone a drink.
Well, it turns out there is another bidder for the land, a rich American played by Tom Berenger, and he's a real threat to the bull.
This field is mine.
Well, we'll see about that, won't we?
But my advice is to stay out of it.
The field only works in Harris's best scenes when he is truly frightening in his desire to control the field, the town, and everything in his life as a way of covering up a lot of old pain and past hurt. Unfortunately, the story involving the American comes off as a little lame, and so many of the supporting characters are defined only in terms of the bull having little life of their own. So what we have here is one terrific character in an otherwise routine film, directed incidentally by Jim Sheridan, who last year directed Daniel Day-Lewis to a Best Actor Oscar for My Left Foot. The much better story of another strong-willed Irishman.
You know, I think one of the problems with this film, and I agree with you that Richard Harris is very good in his scenes, is that film makes things literal. And this story is not meant to be taken as a literal, factual type of story. It was done as a stage play where things could be symbolized and they could be off-screen. But when you can see things in this movie, you clearly see a couple of things. For example, the American wants to mine this land for its mineral rights. What he has is a little plot of green in the middle of 10 million acres of mineral rights. But no, he has to have this very land, and he's going to dig under that. Now, the other question is, why has Richard Harris and his father and his father's father and his father's father's father, back since time immemorial, been dragging seaweed out of the ocean and climbing up a mountain with it in order to turn this field into a pasture when, as you could see in the scene that we just looked at, the town is also surrounded by millions of acres of pasture land. It doesn't make sense as a field. It doesn't make sense as mineral rights. It only makes sense as an allegory.
Also, I think that Tom Berenger simply looks out of place there. He looks like he's a contemporary guy stuck in this village, and that doesn't work. But for one performance, I guess that's special.
Okay, coming up next, before there was Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, there was Brian Cox as Dr. Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter. And that's our pick of the week on video coming up next.
Once upon a time, there was an incredible vegetable, the green giant mushroom. It did amazing things for food. The giant picked only the mushrooms plump enough to make pasta perfect, juicy enough to make spaghetti sumptuous, and salads scrumptious. Soon people added the giant's mushrooms to chicken, burgers, stew, gravy, and people ate happily ever after.
Because green giant mushrooms give everything a lift.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green giant.
For your next vacation, visit another world. A world that grabs your imagination and never lets go. This is Walt Disney World with Epcot Center. Magnificent resorts. The Magic Kingdom. And the Disney MGM Studios theme park. The Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. The most unbelievable vacation on Earth.
Sometimes the most unlikely people become heroes.
You know what I know?
What do you know?
You know already?
Everybody knows already.
Nobody told me. That doesn't mean nobody told nobody. Maybe somebody told somebody, but nobody told me.
That's kind of a touchy situation, don't you think?
I don't think there's a problem. How do you know? The cleaning lady told me.
Chihuahua. The Milagro Beanfield War.
Friday night at 7:30 on Channel 11.
Unity means coming together for a common purpose.
It means realizing there are far more things that bind us together than pull us apart.
It means knowing our differences enrich us.
All of us want to live our lives in peace.
All of us want to live our lives with dignity.
All of us want to be free to walk any street.
All of us want to live in our neighborhoods free of violence.
All of us are yearning for a better way.
And all it takes is a change of heart.
One of the most unforgettable movie characters you'll ever meet is Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the brilliant but twisted mass murderer who plays conversational games with a young FBI agent in the new thriller The Silence of the Lambs. British actor Anthony Hopkins has received high praise for his performance in the role.
Do you think if you save poor Catherine, you could make them stop, don't you? You think if Catherine lives, you won't wake up in the dark ever again?
That's really good stuff there, but Hopkins is not the first actor to play Hannibal the Cannibal on the screen. The 1986 movie Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann of Miami Vice fame and starring William L. Peterson, was based on an earlier novel by Thomas Harris, the creator of Hannibal Lecter. And that movie starred another fine British actor, Brian Cox, in the same juicy role.
If this pilgrim imagines he has a relationship with the moon, he might go outside to look at it.
Which of those two performances you prefer may depend on your taste in cannibals, but Manhunter is a superior thriller that was overlooked at the time, and I recommend you check it out on home video. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 thumbs down for Scenes from a Mall, the disappointing and pointless marital comedy starring Woody Allen and Bette Midler. 2 more thumbs down, way, way down. Those thumbs are way out of sight for Nothing But Trouble, an all-time turkey. 2 more thumbs down, but more reluctantly, for He Said, She Said, a comedy with good moments, but not enough smarts. 2 more thumbs down for King Ralph, which might have been funnier if John Goodman had played a sleazeball instead of a cuddly nice guy. And finally, 2 more thumbs down for The Field, a tortured allegory worth seeing only for Richard Harris's performance. So, 5 movies, 10 thumbs down.
But, you know, I think there's a theme that runs through the American films, the way we knock them. The scripts. Every one of the scripts should have been written a little smarter, a little tougher. They're really going into production with these pictures. I don't think they're in shape. They're not ready with these films.
I think when you talk to people out there, you hear them thinking that the concept is going to sell the movie and that they're going to fix it as they get on the set, or something will save the movie at some point. What did Woody Allen think, for example, one of the best writers in the history of the movies, when he was reading the script for Scenes from a Mall? Didn't he know that he could write that and make it better?
Well, the question would be, why didn't he rewrite it? That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of The Doors, with Val Kilmer starring in Oliver Stone's story of the life of rock star Jim Morrison. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Ruffy Sure Sack trash bags carry heavy loads and cost less. Sure Sack, the best value you'll ever throw away. No nonsense, the pantyhose that hold up through your busy schedule without a snag. No nonsense, the pantyhose that last. Just a minute. That's all it takes to cover your gray with New Age. New Age by Fanciful, the leader in temporary hair color. New Age. For big cruise savings, it's the Travel Savers Cruise Guide. Call now to get your official Travel Savers Cruise Guide for only $9.95.